A silent alien ship appears in the sky with no warning and no message. Two mysterious beings from beyond the stars stand terrified, knowing exactly what that ship wants. An old man, a strange cat-like creature, and a winged traveler must outsmart. A deadly threat that once held them captive. What happens next will test courage, connection, and the true power of kindness. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and tell us where are you watching. From now, let's jump into the story. Under the soft glow of the twin moons, the Terra Lumen outpost lay still. The protective dome hummed quietly, keeping out the frozen winds that howled across the moon's surface. Most colonists were asleep, unaware that something unimaginable had just crossed the edge of their world. Silas Renner stirred in his bed. At 76, his sleep was often light, but tonight it was a deep, rare kind of rest. Then came the alarm. A short, sharp buzz. Red lights blinked on his wall panel. The outer shield had been breached. Not by a storm or falling debris. Something or someone had come through. Silas threw on his coat and stepped outside. The autumn-like air inside the dome was crisp. Fallen leaves from imported trees rustled under his boots. The path to the gate was lit by pale blue lamps. His old heart pounded, not from fear, but from something else. Something he hadn't felt in years. Curiosity. A small group had gathered at the edge of the settlement. Guards stood with weapons raised. Their flashlights pointed toward a slumped figure near the dome's edge. As Silas got closer, he saw it. It was not human. It was tall, nearly twice his height, with wings like glass and skin that shimmered like black stone soaked in starlight. It was curled inward, holding its side, glowing faintly. The creature looked more like a statue than something. Alive, yet its chest rose and fell, slow and shallow. "Step back, Mr. Renner," said a guard. "We don't know what this thing is." Silas didn't listen. He stepped forward slowly, hands open, his voice calm. "It's hurt," he said, "and it's afraid." "We can't be sure of that," the guard replied. "Then let me be sure." Silas knelt beside the creature. Its eyes, large and golden, flickered open. There was no hate, no rage, just pain and confusion. Silas reached out, and the creature didn't flinch. Instead, it raised a clawed hand slowly and placed it against his chest. A low vibration hummed through Silas's bones, like the purr of a giant cat. The crowd murmured. Some were afraid, others were in awe. Silas spoke clearly. This being came through a storm. It could have brought fire. Instead, it brought nothing but its own broken self. Give it a chance. Colonial protocol allowed civilians to take responsibility for unknown life forms under old frontier laws. Most had forgotten that rule. Silas hadn't. He had written part of it decades ago, before retiring. Before he faded from importance. With one hesitant nod from the chief guard, Silas was given clearance. He and the wounded creature walked slowly back to his home. The being limped, wings tucked tightly behind it. Silas offered a walking stick. The creature accepted, gripping it with care. Inside his modest home, Silas laid the creature on a thermal mat. He pulled out his old medkit and began cleaning a deep wound along its side. The bleeding was thick, glowing faintly blue, but it was blood. Real blood. As Silas worked, the creature closed its eyes and began to emit a low series of sounds. They were not words. They were pulses. Silas, who had studied plant communication and sonic frequencies long ago, understood something right away. It was trying to talk. He activated a simple sound analyzer. Patterns formed. Not language yet, but logic, sequence, intelligence. He nodded. Slowly, a smile forming on his wrinkled face. "You're not just smart, he said softly. "You're brilliant." The creature opened its eyes again and made a short sound. It was almost a mimic of his voice. Imperfect, but close. Then it gently reached toward a plant on the windowsill. The leaves bent toward it, as if recognizing an old friend. Silas sat back. He stared at the being for a long moment. The quiet settled around them like a warm blanket. The hum of the dome. The pulse of two hearts. Human and alien. Outside, the settlement returned to its routine. But inside that small home, something incredible had begun. Not a war. Not an invasion. Just a meeting. A meeting that might change everything. Silas stood and made tea. It was what he always did when things felt uncertain. He placed a cup near the creature, unsure if it could drink. Still, it watched him closely. "We'll figure this out," he said. "You found the right place. Or maybe we found each other." The being blinked slowly, its glowing eyes softening. Silas looked out the window, past the dome. Stars glittered like silent witnesses. For the first time in years, Silas felt alive again. Not just breathing, living. A spark had been lit beneath the dome, not of fear, not of fire, but of hope. A week passed since the night the creature arrived. The settlement talked less about the breach and more about the old man who took in a being with wings. Silas Renner's name was once again spoken in public, sometimes with respect, sometimes with worry, but he didn't care. His days were now filled with care, observation, and something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. The creature, now called Mirren, was healing. Its wound had closed with Silas's careful treatment and the creature's natural ability. Mirren still spoke in soft tones, vibrating pulses that Silas recorded and studied. The signals were now forming into recognizable structures. It was learning. Quickly, one quiet morning, as Silas was tending to his plants, the settlement alarm rang again. It was brief but clear. Something had crashed just outside the dome. The guards moved faster this time. Silas, still sore from a stiff night's sleep, pulled on his coat and followed the noise. The crash site was less dramatic than the last event. A small cargo ship, half buried in frost and dirt, smoked quietly near the dome's edge. No one recognized the ship's markings. Inside the wreck, the guards found no human crew. Instead, they discovered a crate. A strange, shaking crate with soft growls coming from within. Silas arrived as they were preparing to force it open. "Careful," he warned. "It might not be dangerous, just scared." They ignored him. The crate popped open with a hiss. Out tumbled a creature unlike any seen before. It was feline in form, covered in wet, fur-like strands that shimmered under the light. It had 5 legs, each ending in padded claws. Its ears were translucent, flickering like jellyfish fins. Large green eyes blinked slowly, locking onto Silas. The creature didn't attack. Instead, it sat back on its haunches and raised both front limbs in a gesture that looked eerily like a plea. Then it meowed, not in pain, not in fear, but in greeting. "It's a cat," one of the guards whispered. "Not quite," Silas said, "but close enough." The creature was tagged for removal to the colony's biolab. Silas stepped forward. "I invoke the same clause," he said firmly. "I'll take responsibility." Again, the guard sighed but relented. Silas gently wrapped the creature in a thermal cloth and brought it home. Mirren was waiting. When Silas entered, Mirren rose from the mat, eyes widening at the sight of the new guest. To Silas's surprise, the two creatures did not hiss or fight. Instead, they approached each other cautiously, circling like old friends reconnecting. They made soft sounds, not the same as before, but similar. Short bursts, careful notes. Soon, they were sitting side by side. "You know each other," Silas said quietly. Or at least you understand each other. He named the new arrival Cora. She was more expressive than Mirren, quick to mimic sounds, eager to explore. Within hours, she had found every warm corner in Silas's home and had taken a strong liking to the taste of boiled root vegetables. Ren and Cora began to work together in small ways. They helped Silas with simple tasks, passing tools, sorting samples, even tending to his garden. Their movements were thoughtful, their cooperation seamless. Silas documented every moment, his old research tools scattered across the living room. It wasn't just kindness. They were intelligent, connected, but not everyone in the colony was convinced. The next morning, a visitor arrived. Tall, sharp-eyed, and carrying a small recorder. Aaron Sola, she said. Independent journalist. Mind if I ask you a few questions? Silas nodded. He was cautious, but honest. Aaron watched Mirren and Cora as they moved through the room. Her recorder picked up their soft communication. She raised an eyebrow. They act like a team, she said. They are a team, Silas replied. Not just creatures, people. She spent the day observing, taking notes, recording behavior. She asked Silas about his past, about why he chose to help them. No one else would, he said. That was enough. That night, as Aaron prepared to leave, Silas offered her a warm drink. She accepted. Outside, the stars hung low and clear. Aaron stared up at them. Do you think more will come? She asked. Silas nodded slowly. Yes, he said. I think they already are. Inside, Mirren and Cora rested near the window, their forms bathed in moonlight. The house, once quiet and cold, now felt full, not of noise, but of life. Silas sat down with a sigh. Tired, but happy. When the stars bring strangers, some fear, some question. But Silas had learned something important. Kindness was not just human, and neither was family. The days passed with a calm that felt almost unnatural. Silas Renner's home, once a place of quiet retirement, had become something more. It was now a center of learning, of healing, and of quiet wonder. Mirren and Cora had adjusted to life in the colony, even if the colony hadn't quite adjusted to them. Outside, the air was still. The dome lights cast soft shadows in the evening. Inside, Silas continued to record the interactions between his two guests. Every gesture, every shared sound, told a story. Myron's strength had returned fully. Cora, with her curious nature, had become a regular fixture in the garden, chasing falling leaves and imitating the chirps of native birds. Aaron Sola returned often. The journalist had become more than just an observer. She brought tools to help Silas decode the layered language Mirren and Cora used. She asked thoughtful questions and stayed longer with each visit. Her reports had started to appear across colony networks. Most were curious, some were skeptical. But the tone had shifted. People were listening. On a quiet morning, Silas woke before dawn. He moved slowly, feeling the ache in his back. He made tea, fed the creatures, and sat near the window. He felt peaceful. Then the pain struck. A sharp, burning pressure spread across his chest. His hand shook as he reached for his communicator. It slipped. He fell to the floor, gasping for air. The world blurred. Cora was the first to reach him. She let out a high, sharp sound that echoed off the walls. Mirren rushed in, eyes wide. Without hesitation, Cora sprinted to the console and placed both paws on the screen. She tapped 3 times. The system beeped and connected to the emergency line. Mirren moved to the supply shelf. With surprising accuracy, it pulled out a small container of Silas's heart medicine. It opened the lid and placed the pills in Silas's hand. Help arrived. Minutes later. By then, Silas was conscious, breathing slowly. The guard stood speechless as the two non-human beings stepped back, letting the medics work. Erin arrived just as the ambulance left. Her recorder had captured the entire scene through the window. She stood in silence, watching as Mirren and Cora sat by the door, waiting. Later that evening, Erin uploaded a short video. No music, no voiceover. Just the moment Cora made the call and Mirren delivered the medicine. Within hours, the colony's network lit up. Messages poured in from nearby settlements. Questions, praise, disbelief. Some still doubted, but most saw what Erin saw. These were not pets, not lab subjects. They were beings, intelligent, empathetic, capable of action and emotion. Silas recovered quickly. The doctors said he was lucky. Silas said he was blessed. He returned home after 2 days. Cora climbed onto his lap the moment he sat down. Mirren stood nearby, wings folded gently, gaze steady. "You saved me," Silas whispered. "Both of you." That night, Erin stayed for dinner. The room was warm with quiet conversation and soft light. It felt safe. Then the alert came. A sharp tone echoed across every screen in the colony. A ship had entered orbit, unregistered, silent. Its signal was encrypted. And old, very old. Colonial Command had no immediate information. The ship hovered just outside scanning range. It didn't respond to calls. It didn't power weapons. It simply waited. Mayren rose and walked to the window. Its entire body tensed. Cora followed, ears flat. Silas stood slowly, a deep chill running through him. "They know that ship," Erin said softly. Miren turned and pressed its hand to Silas's chest, then pointed to the sky. A soft pulse followed. It repeated once. Danger. Erin began typing into her pad. "I'll alert command. They need to know these two recognize it." The night grew heavy. Silas didn't sleep. Neither did the creatures. He sat in his chair, watching the sky, waiting. He remembered something his father used to say. "It's not the storm that breaks you. It's the silence before it." This silence felt endless. The colony prepared defense systems. Patrols increased. Lights dimmed at night. The people whispered in fear. Mirren and Cora stopped playing. They no longer explored the garden. Their focus shifted entirely to watching. Listening. Erin came every day now. She spoke with Silas in hushed tones. Her reports shifted in tone. More urgent. More serious. Silas prepared as best he could. He charged his devices, stored extra food. He cleaned the home, not from habit, but from instinct. A strange part of him knew something was coming. The silence was breaking. The silent ship in orbit had not moved in days. Its presence hovered like a shadow over the colony. No signal came, no message. Only its quiet threat remained. The settlers of Terra Lumen grew restless. Tension spread through the outpost like cold air before a storm. Inside Silas Renner's home, the atmosphere was different. Not calm, not fearful. Focused. Mirren and Cora had changed. They no longer moved with curiosity, but with intention. They examined every object in the house, every wire, every system. Silas noticed. He didn't ask questions. Instead, he offered tools. Old scanners, broken transmitters, unused energy cells. The two beings worked quickly and silently, as if they had done this before. They were preparing for something. Erin Sola had stayed close. Her stories were now reaching core worlds. Her most recent report had drawn the attention of the Galactic Council. They sent a message requesting more data on the unidentified vessel. Erin sent everything she had. Late one evening, Mirren created a series of images using Silas's old projector. The images showed a ship, not just any ship. a same one in orbit now. It was a hunter-class vessel used by species traders. Illegal, dangerous, feared across several systems. The truth settled heavily on everyone in the room. Mirren and Cora had escaped from that ship. Now it had returned. Erin paced the room. If they're here for them, we need to act fast. We can't fight a hunter ship. We're not armed for that. Silas sat quietly. Then he stood and walked to the corner of the room. He lifted a small metal case. Inside were blueprints. Old ones. A layout of the colony's original communication systems and atmospheric control network. We won't fight, he said. We'll outthink them. They built the plan over the next 12 hours. Mirren and Cora would use their knowledge of the hunter ship to simulate a galactic patrol signal. Silas would rewire the outpost's old relay towers to boost the fake signal. Erin would broadcast the false warning on every open channel. It was risky. If the ship believed the colony was under protection, it might retreat. But if it saw through the trick, there would be no time to escape. The work began before sunrise. Mirren and Cora built a small beacon using scrap and leftover tech. Silas worked with tired hands, rewiring the relay. Erin climbed the central tower to launch the broadcast. As the system powered up, Cora let out a soft call. Mirren placed its hand over Silas's and gave a small nod. The beacon sent the signal. The fake patrol message spread across the sky. A warning in all major languages. The hunter ship remained still. For 5 long minutes, nothing happened. Then, the ship moved. Its engines pulsed once, then again. Slowly, it turned away from orbit and began to retreat. Within seconds, it was gone. No weapons fired. No trace left behind. Just silence. Erin sat down on the tower steps, shaking. It worked, she whispered. They believed it. The colony remained under alert for 1 more day. Then the all-clear was given. People began to breathe again. Messages of support flooded in from nearby systems. Even the Galactic Council responded. An investigation into the hunter ship began immediately. The Council also made a ruling. Mirren and Cora were declared sentient, sapient beings. They were to be given full civil protections under galactic law. No experiments, no containment. Number. Forced relocation. They were free. Erin recorded the announcement. Silas watched the screen, hands folded in his lap. He looked at Mirren and Cora, both now sitting quietly by the window. You're safe now, he said. Cora purred softly. Mirren lowered its wings and closed its eyes. The days that followed were peaceful. No alarms, no strange signals. Just the return of life as it had been before. The colony offered Silas a medal. He declined. They offered him a new title. He declined that too. Instead, he asked for one thing: to be allowed to keep living in his small home with his companions. Permission was granted. Weeks later, Silas woke to the smell of something warm cooking in the kitchen. Cora had learned how to start the stove. Mirren stood at the window, watching the sunrise. Silas smiled. He stood slowly, walked to the table and sat. Outside, the sky was clear. The dome was quiet. Inside, there was light. Not from machines, not from stars, but from the heart of something new. A bond, a family. And the quiet truth that kindness had changed everything.